Throughout the history of the NHL, Canadians have always had elite players in the league. Oftentimes, we need to deem one of them the best. This is the best Canadian in the National Hockey League. A succession. We begin this list with the humble beginnings of the NHL and Cy Denneny. If you do not know who Cy Denneny is, don't worry, neither did I. But I'm pretty sure he's this gentleman here. Born over 130 years ago, I put him on this list as the best Canadian in the NHL from 1917 until 1923. Over that span, Cy played in 133 games, scoring 153 goals, 53 assists, and 206 points. That's a 1.55 point per game pace and a 127 point per 82 game season. Next on our list was one of the first no-brainers, Howie Morenz. I gave him the title for 8 seasons, from 1923 until 1931. In those seasons, he won 3 Hart Memorial trophies, as well as accumulated 297 games with 206 goals, 89 assists for 295 points. This puts him at just under a point per game pace and 81 points per 82 game season. Howie Morenz's impact on Canadian hockey stretches much further than the score sheet, though. Howie Morenz is credited as being one of the first true superstars in Canadian hockey history, as he transcended the game for many Canadians. The next several years will be dominated by players from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and these 4 seasons belong to Charlie Conacher, 1931 to 1935. He played in over 170 games, scoring 116 goals, 74 assists, and 190 points. This puts him at a 1.1 point per game pace and 90 points per 82 game season. The second and last Maple Leaf on this list is Sal Apps. Sal played in the NHL for 11 seasons, all with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The first 3 seasons of his career, however, are the 3 seasons that I deem he was the best Canadian in the league. In those 3 years, Apps accumulated 139 games played, 52 goals, 83 assists for 135 points. This puts him at a 0.97 point per game pace and 79.54 points per 82 game season. Apps also won the Calder Memorial Trophy for best rookie in the league in his first season, with 16 goals, 29 assists, and 45 points. Next up is probably the best player you've never heard of, Bill Cowley. Born in 1912, Bristol, Quebec, Bill Cowley played most of his career, the vast majority, with the Boston Bruins. But I'm slotting him in for his 5 seasons between 1939 and 1944. In these 5 seasons, Bill Cowley had 206 games played, 91 goals, 183 assists for a total of 274 points. This is a 1.33 point per game pace and a 109 point per 82 game season. Bill Cowley also won 2 Hart Memorial trophies during this span, one in 1940-41 and another in 1942-43. Up next is Maurice the Rocket Richard. Born in 1921 from Montreal, Quebec, Rocket Richard is perhaps the most beloved Montreal Canadian of all time, and is most famous for scoring 50 goals in 50 games. This is where his reign begins, in the 1944-45 season. I stretch him out until the 1950-51 season. These 7 years, he scored 255 times in just 407 games. He had a point per game pace of just over 1, giving him 83.64 points per 82 game season. In looking at these stats, it's incredible to note that Maurice the Rocket Richard only won 1 Hart Memorial trophy, and that was in 1946-47. Maurice the Rocket Richard was such a prolific scorer in his time that the NHL now gives out an award to the player with the most goals at the end of the regular season, called the Maurice Rocket Richard Award. Next up is Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey himself. I will note that Jean Beliveau is an honorable mention for this time period. However, Gordie Howe's prolific career is more than substantial enough to earn him 13 seasons atop this mountain, in my opinion. In these 13 seasons, Gordie Howe had a total of 891 games played, 453 goals, 575 assists for over 1,020 points. This is a 1.15 point per game total, averaging 94 points per 82 game season. Gordie Howe has also won 6 Art Ross trophies and 6 Hart Memorial trophies in this time. but perhaps even more amazing and more famously than that, has a hat trick named after him. When a player scores a goal, gets an assist, and gets in a fight all in the same game, they call that a Gordie Howe hat trick. And I truly could not think of a better legacy than that. As we sit without a paddle, just waiting for an oar, we have 5 years of ambiguity to clear up. And I'm going to give those first 3 years to Bobby Hull, deservedly so. Hull's stats in these 3 seasons were 192 games, 145 goals, 103 assists, and 248 points. That's a 1.23 point per game pace and averaging over 100 points per 82 game season. It's also notably the first time we have plus minus as a statable statistic. Bobby Hull's plus minus for these 3 years was plus 70. Bobby Hull has won 3 Art Ross trophies and 2 Hart Memorial trophies in his career. Bobby Hull's speed, shot, and skill was more than elite for his time, but was only a precursor for the high-flying offense the NHL was about to see. Phil Esposito is going to squeak in here with 2 seasons. They were the first 2 seasons he had with the Boston Bruins where I thought he was the best Canadian in the league. He had 148 games played, 84 goals, 126 assists for 210 points. That's a 1.42 points per game average with a 116.82 game average. Phil Esposito's best years were still ahead of him though, as he would have a teammate that would rise him to heights he could only dream of, as Bobby Orr dawned in a new era of the NHL. Perhaps nobody throughout the course of the NHL's history is credited with progressing the game more than Bobby Orr. These 6 seasons were cut short due to injury, but Bobby Orr was still able to accumulate over 400 games played, 214 goals, 520 assists, equaling 734 points. Mind you, Bobby Orr is also the only defenseman on this list, but he still had a 1.64 points per game average, averaging 134 points per 82 game season. Also, a plus 480. Just some of his awards include 3 Hart Memorial trophies, 2 Art Ross trophies, and 8 consecutive James Norris Memorial trophies for the top defender in the league. Guy Lafleur was the most natural fit for the next 5 seasons, as they were by far the most dominant seasons of his career, and coincided with one of the great dynasties of the NHL. Guy Lafleur's period of dominance resulted in 274 goals, 373 assists for 647 points. That's a 1.65 point per game pace with a 135 point per 82 game pace. Guy Lafleur has won 3 Art Ross trophies, 2 Hart Memorial trophies, and a Conn Smythe Award. The Montreal Canadiens would go on to win 4 straight Stanley Cups in this period, a feat that would not be replicated until immediately after when the New York Islanders won 4 straight Stanley Cups. Unfortunately for Mike Bossy, he will not make this list as the Great One takes over for the next 11 seasons. Over the past decade, point totals had been steadily increasing, and I'm going to spoil it for you right now. This is going to be as high as they ever get. Whatever Bobby Orr and Guy Lafleur were doing to the NHL in their time, changing the league, they were seemingly changing it for Wayne Gretzky to succeed. Wayne Gretzky dominated the NHL in a way we may have never seen an athlete dominate a sport before. The game was made for Wayne, and the stats back it up. Throughout this 11-season span, over 800 games played for Wayne Gretzky. He had 667 goals, over 1,300 assists for 2,005 points in 11 seasons. A 2.37 points per game average, averaging 194 points per 82 game season. And say what you will about plus minus, but he was a plus 592. And in lieu of reading out all the awards Wayne Gretzky won throughout his career, I'll just tell you guys, it was most of them. And it's not like Wayne Gretzky's career ended in 1991 or his stats fell off. He was simply surpassed by another phenomenal talent, one that would spoil hockey fans silly in the early 90s, and particularly those in Pittsburgh. Super Mario really was such a fantastic nickname for Mario Lemieux because it did seem like he was playing a video game most of the time. And although his career, like Bobby Orr's, was cut short due to injury and health concerns, Mario Lemieux still put up astronomical numbers. Also note that Mario Lemieux only played in 5 seasons during this time period. He missed over a year and a half, and I still think he was the best Canadian in the league, and I don't think many people will disagree. He played in just under 300 games and was able to score 611 points. That's 249 goals, 362 assists, over 2 points per game average, putting him at 171 points per 82 game season. And as for individual awards, much like Wayne Gretzky, yeah, it was most of them. But the narrative surrounding Mario Lemieux slowly shifted from what will he do to what could he have done, as Mario would miss the next 3 seasons and not play in the NHL until the year 2000. Although Mario Lemieux did in fact play with Sidney Crosby, and we all know Sidney Crosby is going to find his way onto this list, their primes were separated by nearly 2 decades. This time period had more and more European players being labeled as superstars around the league. It was no longer a foregone conclusion that the best Canadian in the league was also the best player in the league. But before I reveal who I think bridges the gap between Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby, please subscribe to this channel if you like this kind of content. As of me recording this narration, I have 25 subscribers. So let's make it a road to 30 subscribers and click the subscribe button and like this video. Now, back to the video. The Colorado Avalanche were absolute juggernauts during this time period, and a big reason why was their captain, Joe Sakic. Joe Sakic probably doesn't get the recognition he deserves as being such a good Canadian hockey player because he had such a quiet confidence about him. During these 4 seasons, Joe Sakic played in 279 games, scoring 150 goals, 208 assists for 358 points. That's a 1.28 point per game average and a 105 point per 82 game average. This might seem like a abysmal total next to Mario Lemieux, but it was clear that the league was changing and that high-flying 150-point seasons were a thing of the past. It's not like Joe Sakic was a bad superstar by any means. He won a Hart Trophy and even a couple Stanley Cups. But following Mario Lemieux is always a tough act. And these coming years really shine a light on how lucky Canadian hockey fans had it during Gretzky and Lemieux's time. Joe Thornton takes over for these 4 seasons spanning over 5 years, as there was an NHL lockout in 2004-2005. And because Joe Thornton currently still plays in the NHL as a 42-year-old, some people often forget just how dominant he was in the early 2000s. During these 4 seasons, he played in over 300 games, scoring 110 times, but with 257 assists, giving him 367 points. That's a 1.22 point per game average, averaging exactly 100 points per 82 game season. Thornton has 1 Hart Memorial Trophy that he earned in 2005-2006, a year in which he was traded from Boston to San Jose. In this year, he had 29 goals, 96 assists for 125 points. Now, Sidney Crosby. Everyone knew he was going to make this list, but I'm not sure anyone knew he was going to be here for 10 seasons. Partially due to the fact that the league was much more diverse by this time, and also partially due to the fact that Sidney Crosby was just really, really, really good. And 10 seasons among the top is the 3rd highest on this list. When Sidney Crosby broke into the league next to Mario Lemieux, it was going to be very hard for him to meet expectations, but somehow he did, and then continued to do so. Over these 10 seasons, Crosby played in 626 games, scoring 299 goals, 537 assists, and 836 points. That's a 1.34 point per game average and a 109 point per 82 game season. And slowly, the offense was coming back into the game. Sidney Crosby has won 2 Hart Memorial Trophies, 2 Art Ross Trophies, as well as back-to-back Conn Smythe Trophies, which is by far the most impressive achievement of his career, in my opinion. Now we turn our attention to the present, and Connor McDavid, the best Canadian in the National Hockey League, and by all accounts, the best player in the National Hockey League as well. Full disclosure, at this point of the video, I am from Edmonton, Alberta, so I am a huge Connor McDavid fan. Now, I don't want to fangirl over him too much, so I'll just tell you this quote that Wayne Gretzky had. On October 7th of 2016, Wayne Gretzky said, "I don't think there's any question that Connor's the best 19-year-old hockey player I've ever seen. And I saw Mark Messier. I saw Lemieux. I saw Lafleur. Although Connor McDavid will likely never have the single-season success of Lemieux, Messier, or Lafleur, his point totals have been steadily increasing as he matures in the NHL. From 2016 until now, Connor McDavid has played in 383 games, scored 194 goals, 372 assists for 566 points. That's a 1.48 point per game average and a 121 points per 82 game season average. Connor McDavid has already won 3 Art Ross trophies and 2 Hart Memorial trophies, and hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down anytime soon. How long will Connor McDavid be the best Canadian in the league? It's hard to say. There doesn't seem to be anybody on the horizon, but hockey moves quickly, and the next 18-year-old phenom is always just around the corner. And there you have it, the best Canadian in the National Hockey League, a succession. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you liked this video, please like it and subscribe, as well as give me ideas for future lineage videos you'd like to see. From Jim Sox Sports, I'm Michaelan. Thank you for watching.